Good morning, ladies and gents. It is early, to put it lightly. I am not really sure. I've got some stuff I want to get done, but I didn't have a huge plan for what I want to dive into today. So I'm going to kind of poke at the game, see what I've got, and then take a step from there. I might just do some simple world building this morning, something simple and kind of easy on the brain. I mean, I've got my basic movement. I could go so far, maybe add a compass at the top, just so that you know which way is which all the time. That might be nice. I'm trying to think of what else. Because I know there's a lot to get done, obviously. I still have stats, I still have a combat screen, I still have, NPC interactions and treasure chests and skill checks and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I need to kind of figure out what comes next and how to handle it. And so some of that just simply comes down to making things, adding more, seeing where my game plan kind of starts to come together or where it starts to fall apart, honestly. As you can see, I've got a tree on a little plot of land that is so tiny that it's easily visible. Also, my skybox is kind of the generic Unity skybox, which, doesn't do me any favors. So I've definitely got my work cut out for me. Today might honestly just be a, it might just be a bit of a world day. Work on things here, play with it, answer questions, or do whatever I can. Just kind of messing with things. It was a little too on center. When I walked up to it, you could see the tree was like, oh, now the tree's actually in vision. Maybe I don't want that. But, still, it was just kind of funny how on center it looked. And granted, it isn't actually funny. Okay. Well, and then also figuring out what to do in terms of things like scripted events, how to handle those. There's a whole salvo of things that need to happen inside this game, and so figuring out kind of where my workload should go next is an important thing to do, even if it's a little difficult at times to figure out exactly how or what I should be doing in order to kind of bring this world to life. I think figuring out housing and how to do structures is going to be one major part of it. You'll note right now that everything here is very one-dimensional, or very two-dimensional, I should say. You're walking around on this very flat plane, and I'd like to have something a little, I don't know, I'd like to have some height variation. It would definitely make the game feel a little less, just a little less flat and boring. So I'm going to probably play with some of my ground models too, because you'll note I have all these ground variations, but none of them do the major thing I was hoping for, in that they don't, I also kind of want to get rid of, do a little optimization here, because you'll note, let's see here, these have cast shadows turned on. And they don't really need to cast shadows. There should not be a grid node there. Alright. Just getting rid of also a bunch of extra objects I see floating around. Sorry for the stuffed up, guys. You're probably going to hear me like bleh, a little bit. I'm trying not to on stream. I'm trying to keep my noises to a minimum. But we'll see how well that goes. First off, I know I have more 3D art inside the actual files. Specifically, let's see here. Blender, come here. Blender is my friend right now. Help me go through all this stuff here, find what I need. Specifically, I'm hunting for the pieces of terrain that allow me to do the height changes. I don't think it's going to be there. I think it's going to be either its own piece here. Okay, that's just stones on the ground. That's grass, really? Is it just a couple, like, interleaved? No, it's not even a couple interleaved pieces. It is literally grass. It is just flat plain. Okay, so I do have some stuff in here that I will definitely want to export. Oh, stairs. Here we go. This is what I was hunting for. So the only thing that gets me about all of these is the fact that you'll note that the origin is over here. So I need to recenter them all, which is incredibly annoying. Problem being, I don't think there's... I mean, if I copy this out... Let's see here. I'm going to grab a copy of this model and just try putting it in the game. We'll see how well Unity handles having something so far offset dumped into it. Oh, really? Unity doesn't care, huh? I guess transform is one of those pieces of information that doesn't really mind getting generated or used. Now its settings are still all kinds of wrong, so let's fix that. Specifically, there's no animation rig. And there's no animations to import. And on top of that, is everything else set here? Everything else looks right. Okay. Shouldn't be too hard to dump this in scene and play with it a little bit. Maybe get it working. Specifically, let's bring this back to -1. Oop, -3. Obviously, we want a 0. Ooh, okay. That's curious. Luckily, its height isn't, standard integer, so it doesn't look like it's all that bad. But we gotta make sure in the future that if we do stuff like this, that any terrain, probably we want it sitting above its origin point. So its origin point would actually be at 0. And when we put it down, it just says, okay, here's where I fit in. I guess if it looks like its origin point is the other way around, so it's actually meant to be the top of a set of stairs, although it doesn't really matter a ton. But just for future reference. Kind of tempted to see what these other stair models are as well, since, oops. Every time I double click it, it takes me out to Visual Studio. So we've got the wide, okay. Oh, okay, and then we've got stone, like a very different kind of stone stairs. Got it. This is kind of a dirt stone versus a, like, rock stone. Or so I suppose. So these are ground materials. I'm going to dump these in here. I'm actually just going to go through and sort a lot of this stuff. Today's not going to be too terribly exciting, and I apologize for that, guys. But days like this exist, unfortunately. Kind of curious about these as well. This is just learning, like, what the heck is in this texture pack? Okay, those are, I consider those decorative. So I'm actually going to what? No, I didn't mean to make a script. I thought I told it to make a new folder. Okay, there we go. And as I said, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. Happy to answer them. Kind of doing what I can to just plug through some art stuff that just kind of needs to happen. I don't tend to do a ton of art stuff, so when I do, it's kind of this weird, like, well, hi, I'm here, I'm doing art stuff, and I don't know much. I don't know much of what to say. I mean, I've got some pretty simple shaders attached. Ooh, you know what I kind of want to do? I want to get the leaves on this to shake slightly. That's what I want to do. I should make a shader for that at some point. I found some really neat terrain, kind of moving trees and grass shaders recently, and I've really wanted to play with getting that done myself. And you know what? Since I'm doing that stuff, I'm kind of tempted to. The only downside is that some of these look a little crazy. But you know what? Why not? So the neat thing is, because this shader is already separated, or not shader, this model is already separated into tree trunk and leaves, it's actually not terribly hard to apply a new shader simply to the leaves. We just have to go in and obviously change that shader. Let's see here. I gotta take a stab at writing a shader today. That is what I'm gonna do. We'll see how well this works. Sure, I'll start with an unlit shader, and we'll call this a diffuse shake. Actually, it's not a diffuse. It's going to be a cutout, isn't it? We'll start with diffuse, and we'll go from there. Oh man, it's been a while. This is new. New and old. I mean, I've seen a lot of this stuff before, but there's still some stuff I do remember, at least. This is alpha test. So essentially setting our type from opaque to alpha test lets it know that we will be checking for transparent pixels within the shader. It tells it what order to put it in. Ignore. And then render type is essentially, man, I forgot how my quotation marks go in here. Render type tells it kind of the order in which to render things, and also the style with which we will be rendering things. Let's turn down that level of detail a little bit. Make fog work. I like how they just have like a pragma, oh, just include fog here. Like, that's their way of handling it. Okay, so already we know that, okay, so it's got its main texture. What else do we need? I don't think we'll need a ton else. Having the alpha cutoff is kind of the obvious thing we'll need, because we've already got an alpha cutoff attached to our current shader, so that's got to exist. What else? What else? What else? What else? We'll probably want to control the amount of displacement. That these trees can wobble. If they wobble too much, we can turn it up and down and kind of modify it without having to continually modify our shader. Part of me wants to range 0 to 1 this, part of me doesn't really care enough. We'll see. You know what, let's, no, I'll leave it like that. We'll also probably want to control just how quickly this thing shakes. So if it shakes too quickly, if it kind of vibrates, we want to be able to control that. Let's see, what else? In terms of Let's see here. I guess in terms of violence in which this thing shakes, we'll come up with a wind speed. And then finally, the amount of bending that goes on between vertices. And I'm pulling, for those who are curious, I'm pulling this off of a thread on Unity, and I'm making some slight tweaks to it as I go. Kind of looking at what they've got, looking at what I think I'll want. There's some good ideas in here. I've also got some ideas of my own, so I'm going to kind of play with that. And you'll also see me steal in a moment a giant chunk of code that is, they have a fast sine cosine, and I like that because what that essentially does is, I guess it works under the assumption that Unity doesn't have its own sine cosine function. If Unity has its own, then I think I could just get away without needing that. Because if there's a math sine cosine, or not a math, but a shader sine cosine, but I am not seeing it. Nah, I don't think I care enough to rewrite those. And looking at what they've got, I think it's probably a little overkill. We'll see. We shall see. So other information we need, obviously we've just added a whole bunch of stuff, but the main texture doesn't have any UVs, does it? No, it does. Okay. So we've got UVs. I don't know if I'll need all this information, but we'll leave it in just in case. And so this is essentially going to boil down to being a vertex shader of some kind. The vertex shader in mind is going to have to do some slight modulation to the vertex, to the vertices. And it's going to have to do it in such a way that we generate kind of a wave effect. And also to do it across world space would be nice. Just so that it doesn't look the same on every single model, we want to make sure we take your world coordinates into effect when we do this, because otherwise everything will just kind of, it'll look silly and a little too uniform if they're all doing it at once. So let's see here. Coming up with some way to essentially change just how much information is being pushed through. That's kind of the big piece here for me. My apologies, it is really early. I'm stretching and trying to get myself get my brain turned back on, because writing shaders does require a little bit of brain power. You gotta grab the neurons, rub them together a little, warm them up, you know, that kind of thing. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so first off, and you'll note that our syntax looks quite a bit different inside of a shader. Shaders use CG code, and so therefore it's not going to look like our C# code at all. You'll note that a lot of things are compacted down. Instead of a vector 4 or a vector 3, it becomes float 4, float 3. It allows the shader to do a little bit more optimization, because it's in a language that the shader compiler can understand. And it can compile it and optimize it specifically for a graphics card, which is really freaking cool. Let's see here. so we're going to take our vertex and we need to come up with some constants. Well, should they be constant? I mean, I could. I don't really care enough to right now. I might come back and clean this up later. But so we're going to come up with essentially a constant for the shader wave size, and that lets us kind of do bursts of movement. 6 output 4, and the values I'm pulling are coming straight out of. I can link it in chat if you guys like, but essentially it's just a they're using it for grass. I'm gonna kind of adapt this over for trees, and then make use of a lot of the code here to kind of handle the bits and pieces that I'd like. So we're inserting our vertex position, or at least part of it, and then we're going to also make a change for the Z so that it looks like the waves are moving not on a single axis, but at least on a measure of a pair of axes, which means, actually, I also can't help but notice that I'm not typing my semicolons every time, which is going to cause me some pain later on if I keep forgetting them that way. Okay, so we've got some basic wave movement. And I believe time, I have to double check this, but I believe time is passed into the shader as its own parameter that we can query, which is why shader lab built-in values, yeah, underscore time. Yes, okay, underscore time is a float for, yeah, it's, float for is a little weird, but that's fine. We also have the sine and cosine of time in here. I might want to abuse those in order to get that wave and kind of continual movement without any breaks in it. And I assume that the major parts of time are actually held inside of the X element. I mean, I can't just, it might be in all elements. I'm not actually certain. So we're going to take that shake time that we added in earlier, and we are going to essentially push it to an interesting range. I'm just kind of playing with numbers here at this point. Let's see here. No, that's wind speed, right? Shake wind speed. I don't know why I put the word shake in front of all of these. I mean, it's all, I guess it all has to do with the shaking element, but it is kind of silly to see it working as is. Okay, finally, let's see here. Okay, I see what they're doing. So I'm looking at this like fast sine cosine, and it's not the fact that they're doing a single sine and cosine in here. Huh, I'm just gonna grab it for now. like many things, I can kind of come back and wrap my brain around how certain parts of this work later. But for now, ooh, hello. That. Let's fix this real quick. The alignment of text can really bug me sometimes. And so it looks like they pass in a float 4 and then manage to get an S and C, of which somehow are also float 4s out of it. And that's an interesting bit of code that I really want to take some time to study when I have maybe a little more leisure time, mostly because I'm on a bit of a timer tonight, or this morning. And keep in mind that when I pass in S and C, yes, they are uninitialized right now, but this is an out float 4 and an out float 4C. So S and C are actually going to get filled in by this function and passed back. Let's see here. It's also interesting to see the little hacks and funny little like touches that are being put into their version for something like grass, because grass you want at a low level, right up against the ground. You don't actually want it to shake much, and at the top you want it to wave more. And so what they're doing is they're saying, oh well, if the UV is at the bottom of the UV is at the bottom of the texture, there we go, then don't shake much. But if you're at the top, shake a lot. And so what you end up with is something whose top modulates a lot, but bottom stays pretty much where it should be. I don't need or care about much of that, so I think I can get away without it. And then also they say it looks like some of it is coming from the alpha of the object. So if you have a lighter alpha, it tends to mean, or it could mean, that it's a little further away, and therefore and you don't want it to shake as much. Or maybe you'd want it to shake more. I actually don't know. I'd think something further away you'd want to maybe shake more, just so that its movement catches your eye. Because when something's further out, it has less pixels to modify, so it might seem like that's something that you want. Oh, I see. Okay, we take the sine and we multiply it by this shake bending. That's what I should be doing here. And then there's some weird stuff going on in this code, and I'm curious to see it work and then try and wrap my head around it. Because they're, like I said, it's kind of weird. Normalized wave speed. Where does that come from? Like, and there are variables in here that I just kind of am curious where they came from. Like, he uses this float 4 wave speed all over the place, but I can't actually figure out how this is ever derived. It just kind of seems to exist. And I really wish I just kind of knew, but I got nothing. I mean, I'm just going to keep it in here. Obviously, I want to see this work, so I'm not going to dive in and do anything too crazy. But yeah, it's kind of funny to see code that it's like, why is this here? I don't understand. Like, okay, squaring your own number, I understand squaring all the time. You know, taking something from a linear curve and pushing it to something exponential is an interesting change. If you ever take a number that's between 0 and 1 and square it, it's got an interesting effect. It essentially shoves the extremes up against themselves versus it keeps the middle kind of low at all times. It's an interesting bit of code to see floating around in here more than anything else. And like random dot products, I don't I don't get it. What is this thing doing? Okay, well, let's just dump the rest of this code in here. So, like you can probably tell, some really weird stuff's going on in here. I'm trying to break it up into kind of logical sections, at least for my understanding, but even then, there's a lot of places in here that this just doesn't make a ton of sense for me. Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's bizarre. Let's see how it does. I'm just going to try attaching it to something and seeing how this goes. I think this is all I should need. So it should then pull the vertex from this structure over into the output structure immediately after. So it shouldn't look, I mean, short of me doing something terribly wrong, I suppose, it shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, let's try this. Where's my custom shader? Where did it end up? There's an error, wave size at line 63. Okay. Did I not? Oh, I have to say wave size X. Got it. Anything else? No, doesn't look like it. And if I drop down here, I still don't see my shader. That's the only thing. Unlit, diffuse, shake. Okay. Unlit. Oh, there it is. Haha. And it's purple immediately. Oh, well, first off, okay, let's do one thing first. I want a new material. This will be, I don't know, tree leaves. Now, we want this to very much match our existing set. Diffuse shake. Interesting indeed. Okay. Trying to figure out what's going wrong here. Because something isn't working out correctly. And that's causing this to become what is essentially known as like fugly. It's a color. It's magenta, technically. All I know is that it burns my eyes just to see these like 3 little dots of it exist. It's been used in the past in sprites to show transparency because it is a color so ugly that no one will actually put it in their game. But yeah, it's just kind of, it's not that good looking. Oh, well, okay, I know one thing that needs to happen. Although I'm noting that my parameters aren't actually making it here. All my properties that are sitting right here don't exist here. So I'm going to go over this really quickly one more time just to make sure I didn't miss anything, because that would be... So the only other thing I can catch here is that this has some pragmas attached to it that I may not have caught. Also, it has color. I don't really care. Oh, I see what I haven't done. Okay. 2 parts to this that I kind of messed up. One is I didn't have these. And I don't know if I'll need those, but, you know, I'll fight with that later. The things I'm definitely missing are my variables. So even though I have defined the properties, I hadn't actually defined the variables inside the shader. Okay, surface, okay, not found on line 19. Okay, I don't care quite so much about that. This has a vertex shader already going. And actually, vertex vert is also in here already. Okay, we're almost there. Really? Okay, well, I'm just gonna rip that all out then. Doo-doo. Okay, so we've still got, it looks like a compiler issue. And of course, let's see here, we're just gonna delete put a character back. See what Unity thinks. It apparently does not think much. I was really kind of hoping that it would, like, I don't know, do something about this. I need to figure out how to put alpha test back in, because I do need a cutoff alpha test in here. Otherwise, you'll be able to see just all the transparency and it won't look all that great. Yeah, I don't want to see legacy stuff, Unity. I really don't. I'm good, thanks. Okay, here we go. The shake wind speed. Undeclared shake wind speed. Oh. Okay. Wind speed. Is that it? Did I get it all? Dot. No matching two parameter intrinsic function. Really? I mean, I've used almost this exact shader before. I'm amazed that it is not working as expected right now. Interesting. Like, everyone seems to have their own, like, little side modifications and implementations. And it just makes me wonder, A, how old this thing is, because it looks like it's been here for some time. And B, I'm kind of curious about some of the changes that hit in here. Like, some of these are self-illuminating, and so I worry somewhat about that, or they have like their own, like they have color included, and then for some reason they include the color in some of the shake algorithm. Seems kind of, I don't know, kind of weird. It seems actually really weird. Maybe I can use a set global vector from Unity. I have stairs. I don't quite have them working at the moment. It shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, let's see here. I'm gonna get really distracted. Actually, one sec. Before we get distracted, wave x move. Okay, that seems like a new variable. And where the heck did that come from? Let's finish this, what I'm working on, and then I want to get the stairs working. I would like to get the stairs working. Okay, he's got more random constants in here. Don't ask me why. I don't know. More constants. Because why not, as far as I can tell. Diffuse shake. Syntax error on line 14. Really? I don't see one here. I love how it doesn't tell me what the error is. It just says parse error. Sorry, something's wrong. I don't know what's up. I can't tell you. Something's wrong. Thanks, Unity. You're being incredibly unhelpful. How about now? No? This is the one downside. Unity's shader information is kind of garbage, or the compiler that it uses. It doesn't actually come through and have a lot of good stuff in it. Their shader compiler just says, "Oh, I ran into an error," and it's like, okay, thanks. Can I know what the error is? That'd be kind of nice. I would appreciate knowing what that error was. Okay, let's see here. Syntax error on line 14. What is it having trouble with? Tags open, shut, sorry, open, shut, open, shut, open, shut, open, shut, open, shut, open, shut. Yeah, I mean, this looks like this equals that, comma, this equals that, comma, this equals that, and then end. Like, does it want a semicolon on the end of it? I doubt it. Not that it'll tell me if anything changed or if I got any closer or further from being in the right place. Okay, clearly it didn't like some of these parameters. I really wish it had told me this. Okay, so it's this transparent cutout it doesn't like. On the upside, it looks like it's actually working, maybe? For some reason, it's still fugly down here in the preview. And I can't get that to update, but let's try getting this attached to the tree leaves. Just to see. Okay, so we seem to have lost our, we seem to have lost the alpha attachment to it. I guess the other question is, does it actually do what we want it to? Kind of, yeah. It actually doesn't look all that bad. We just have to kind of clean up the fact that it's rendering the entire texture. And that is something I actually, let's see here. That is something we can probably more easily look up in Unity than anything else. Green rolls, like that you're using tiles. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, the tiles are great. They make it a lot easier for me to actually generate bits of terrain, so I don't have to fight with anything. Let's just go for cutout diffuse and see what they do. I really do wish they would like give examples of some of this. It seems like they don't always give me examples for what I want. Here we go, someone else trying to do this. And sometimes their own forums you can see is messing with the format of their stuff. Okay, Q transparent, render type transparent. Let's get this piece put in here. And then where's the other piece of the puzzle? There's something else here. If that. Okay, so in the did I just name mine cutoff as well? I did. Great. There we go. And of course it doesn't like it. Because, oh, CA. Well, it should be C.A. And actually it should be color. Because COL is what's being used here to sample the texture. So undeclared identifier cutoff, that's fine. We just have to float for cut off. Now doing this by hand feels silly, honestly. I feel like, what do you mean undeclared identifier? O. O.alpha. Oh, I see what's going on here. Let's see here. Float for 0. There we go. If conditional statement expressions must evaluate to a scalar in line. Really? They do? Okay. Wait, what? If statement conditional expressions must evaluate to a scalar at line 104. So I'm saying color.a is less than a floating point number. Because that's what alpha cutoff is. It's a range 0 to 1. Oh, whoops. This should be a float, not a float 4. There we go. That doesn't quite look right. Obviously, it's not doing the whole transparent thing I would like it to. Why is it not transparent? That's the part that's getting me now. I'm saying 0, and that's fine. It's cut out. Okay, its render tags look correct. Huh, I wonder what's going on here. I mean, this is one of the most basic fragment shaders I've ever seen. Green rolls, am I writing it from scratch? Not quite, but I'm doing a pretty close, approximation of from scratch. I am taking someone else's grass code and I'm repurposing it for trees. They had a lot of changes that were specifically grass maintained, and I didn't want that. Oop. Don't mind that. Dang it, I'm so close. I'm right there. I really, I'm missing something. Some keyword or some part of the phrase of one tag or something. Oh, okay, discard. There we go. That's the keyword I think I was looking for here. There we go. Much better. Discard actually tells the graphics card not to even start to draw it. Now you'll note that my computer's having a little issue. Specifically, I walk around and sometimes the shadows just turn on and stay on like this. Now that's not right. In terms of the tree, I mean, the tree looks okay. It doesn't look terribly great, but we could fix and clean up a lot of it. It looks like it's kind of compressing a little too evenly. I might play with that a little bit more in the future, but I do want to see if I can get these stairs working in the last like 10 minutes before I have to take off. So let's get that done. I'm going to turn off this shader as much as I like it. I'm just going to go back to the default here. Back to the basic stuff. And I'll figure out that shader later. We'll poke at it some more some other time. Let's get this grid fixed up. Specifically, I'm just going to grab a copy of this node. We are going to shift it. Whoop, nope. I'm going to shift it back this way. And I think that's actually the only thing I want to do. I kind of want to keep... I'm going to shift it maybe not back as far. I'm going to do some uneven distances in my grid just to make the game feel a little cleaner. And we're going to recalculate our nodes. Okay, good. And we're going to go up the stairs with this next one. And hopefully, let's see, -5. Nope. Keep grabbing the wrong one again. And then goes up 2. Girlfriend talking to me from, as far as I can tell, her tablet and asking me to text her or call her. The joys of significant others. Alright, so I have no north link, so what I need to do is this becomes my south link, this becomes the north link. So I do still have to do these by hand when I do crazy stuff like when I go so far as to actually generate new nodes that aren't in a standard graph setup. So, what? What is going wrong? I fixed that shit. Oh, whatever. For some reason, it refuses to wander up the stairs. Just to double check. Okay, I walk here, I should walk here, and then I should go there. And these are all connected, yes? This grid node has its 3 connections. This grid node has its connections as well. So I can walk to the side of the tree, but it doesn't want to let me walk to the next node. Oh, and you'll note there is only 1 connection off of this node. There should be 2. Specifically, you. This is your south link. There we go. That looks better. You have 2 connections, you have 2 connections, you have 3. Okay, let's try this again. I was just missing a connection here. Hey, look at that. I'm up the stairs. God, that's really gonna bug me. I'm really curious what's going wrong with this this shadow. Like, whatever. We've got stairs. Woo! I mean, it's an obvious thing to get stairs working sometimes, but it's nice to have because it also increases our ability to make the game feel a lot less linear. One of the biggest issues I had with the Crusaders of the Dark Savant, or not Crusaders, sorry, Wizardry 8, I think, the newest one, is that they tried to do the full, they tried to do the full 3D movement, and it felt a little weird because their idea of 3D movement was like real first-person camera that you can like tune and look around with. And then you could like fit yourself into funny places, and when you'd start a fight, the enemies couldn't actually surround you because they were 3D models in the world as well. And so suddenly you could find yourself in advantageous positions, mostly because you could break the game with the 3D geometry. And so I'd kind of like to, avoid some of that when I can. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions before I take off, I am happy to field what I can. Thank you guys for joining me again. It's been... Ooh, that's pretty. It's been fun. I will be back tomorrow, actually, at 8. Back to my usual schedule. So at this point, it's pretty much cemented in stone. My Tuesday through Friday is 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard. And then Monday, I'm still working this out. I might go for a 7 to 8 a.m., honestly. I don't mind this much. Let's see here. Mushrooms, rocks, stairs. I would like the wall pieces for these stairs. That's the only thing I'm missing right now. Like, I've got the stairs themselves, but I don't actually I don't actually have the rest of the pieces that make it up. So let's see. Maybe, nope, those are just sharp rocks. How big is the map going to be before I get tired of setting up the grid? you know, it beats setting up 3D models, and it definitely can beat trying to make a unique looking, interesting world out of pure 3D modeling. That said, we'll see. It might not take long. It might not take long before I at least swap out some of the textures and start doing my own terrain via texture stuff. So we'll see. The map hopefully will get pretty big. I also hope to have some different locales mixed in, so hopefully it won't get too boring, because I'll be, you know, we'll switch from foresty setting to marsh, or we'll go urban, or have something else there. So yeah, hopefully it won't get too incredibly repetitive. Ooh, I think these are the pieces I'm looking for. Yeah, they are, of course. I'm just going to dump these into their own folder. Get some walls in here.
Here's your world.
This is it.
So small.
Yeah, well, I'm just starting.
You had more than that, I thought. Did you have more than that?
I do what I can, guys. Alright, thanks again. I'll catch you all next time. Tomorrow morning, if you're around. If you can't catch the stream on a regular basis, follow the YouTube channel I have linked below, where you can see all these things as I upload them. I put up yesterday and Saturday's streams, so that's 5 more hours of content for you guys to parse through if you really feel like it. Watch me fight with inventory systems. It's fun. It was fun. It was fun to work on. Anyway, thanks guys. Catch you next time. Hit the follow button. Do it. It's over here somewhere, I think. Well, actually, no, it's going to be a lot further that way. Oh well. Catch you guys next time.